my dear children. I am back again with tenses, and today we will concentrate mainly on past tense. The past tense indicates an action that took place in the past and is over now. In other words, past tense tell us about the actions that happened sometime in the past. Previously, I did present tense with you all. I'm confident that you have forgotten many things. So let's revise a little bit. We did simple present tense. The tense of a verb shows the time when an action is or was done. You have learnt that one of the things that a verb tells us is what somebody or something does or has done. You must have noticed that a verb also tells us when that something is done or was done. In other words, a verb not only tells us about an action, it also tells us about the time of that action. Is it something that happens now, or is it something that has happened already in the past? Now look at the sentences. Number A, Veer plays cricket. Number B, Veer played cricket yesterday. In sentence A, the verb plays refers to an action that Veer does now or at present. In sentence B, the verb played refers to an action that we did yesterday, that is, in the past. The two forms of the verb play, plays and played, have been used to show two different times, present and past. We say that the verb plays is in the present tense and the verb played is in the past tense. Now, to form the past tense of a verb, we usually add ed to the verb. Like here, with call, when we add ed, it becomes called. With show, when we are adding ed, it is becoming showed. With walk, when we are adding ed, it is becoming walked. And with talk, plus ed is becoming talked. And look here for the sentences also. She opened the door for the guests. Then she laughed at his jokes. The kitten looked around for its mother. So here in these sentences you can see with the verb we are adding only that ed. Now look over here for the first exercise. Here you have to add ed with the following verbs to form their past tense. Help is becoming helped, hunt, hunted, fear, feared, walk, walked, mix, mixed, turn, turned, jump, jumped. Number 8, pick, picked, chew, chewed, guess, guessed, fill, filled, pull, pulled, talk, talked, fix, fixed, test, tested. So we have added only that ed. Now this is for the verbs with a single syllable. We have to double the last letter and add ed. For example, with knit we have added ed and the letters are doubled. Here you can see it is highlighted, so it's becoming knitted. With shop, when we are adding ed, it's become shopped. Then fan, fanned. Sob, when we are adding ed, it's becoming sobbed. Now look for the sentences also. The thief grabbed her bag. Here the verb is grab. Then she slammed the door. Slam is the verb here. The teacher pinned the notice on the board. The verb is pin here. So the letters, you can see the letters are doubled. And here you must note one thing, that these verbs have a single syllable. These verbs have a single syllable and they end with the consonant preceded by a vowel. Grab, slam, pinned. Now in this exercise B, here you have to rewrite the sentences, changing the tense of the underlined verbs from the present to the past by adding d or ed. The first sentence is Bunty always bats first. The answer will become Bunty always batted first. Then number 2, Sonia grips her bag firmly. The answer, Sonia gripped her bag firmly. The dress fits Neeti perfectly. The dress fitted Neeti perfectly. The tap drips all night. The tap dripped all night. The crowd clapped their hands at the end of the show. The crowd clapped their hands at the end of the show. The teacher pins our drawings on the board with colored drawing pins. The teacher pinned our drawings on the board with colored drawing pins. Then number 7, the lady fans herself with a pretty lace fan. The lady fanned herself with a pretty lace fan. The naughty elf grins when he drops pots and pans on the floor. Here we are having two verbs. The naughty elf grinned when he dropped pots and pans on the floor. Fifi Frog hops into the pond at the end of the field. Fifi Frog hopped into the pond at the end of the field. Now for these words, if the verb ends in E, we just add D to it to form the past tense. Like you can see the highlighted words in red, highlighted letters, the love, hate, move, they're all ending with E. So here we are adding only D and it's becoming loved, hated and moved. For the sentences you can see, they closed the gates at 10 p.m. The verb is close. Then we lived in that house 10 years ago. The verb is live. People queued outside the counters. The verb here is queue. Now these verbs like close, live, queue, they're all ending with E. So we are adding only the D because E is already there. Now in this exercise C, you have to add D with the following verbs to form their past tense. You can see these words written in red in the questions, they're all ending with E. So as per the rule, you are adding only a D with it. Like hope will become hoped, live, lived, save, saved, describe, described, smile, smiled, dance, danced. Close, closed, believe, believed, graze, grazed, tie, tied, like, liked, use, used. Then for this sentences, the porter carried the heavy load on his shoulders. The verb is carry here. My little brother cried a lot. The verb is cry. She tried hard to get the job. The verb is try. Now for these rules, the rule is applied here is if the verb in the present tense ends in IES, then we have to drop the final S and add D. Here, like there is the verbs end with Y, carry, cry, try. So we are replacing that Y and adding IED with the verb. Now we can change the tense of a verb from the present to the past in many ways. The following sentences are some of the ways in which this can be done. So if the verb in the present tense ends in S or ES, we drop the S or ES and add D or ED. Like here, for the present tense, he likes potato chips. When it's becoming the past tense, then it will be he liked potato chips. Then he fears the dark. He feared the dark. He washes his own clothes. He washed his own clothes. Now, this exercise number D, here you have to change the tenses again of the verbs from the present tense to the past tense. So, lies has become lied, talks, talked, moves, moved, flows, flowed, dares, dared. Dives, dived, joins, joined, chases, chased, cares, cared, rose, rode, tastes, tasted, stays, stayed. A few verbs do not change their forms at all when used in the past tense. For example, the fisherman cast his net in the sea. The dress cost 1,000 rupees. I put the clothes in the cupboard. He hurt his leg. So here, even if you're changing the tense, the spelling of the verb remains same. There is no change in the verb, only the meaning changes from present to past. And note that the verbs do not change into the simple past forms by adding d, ed or id, and they are called irregular verbs. I'll be discussing about this later. Now let's have a quick recap about which you have learned so far. We know that we use the simple past tense for number 1 to talk about an action which has already taken place. Now read these sentences carefully. What is common to the highlighted verbs and when did these actions happen? The first sentence, the ship sailed last month. I slept well yesterday. Then I walked to school yesterday. They played football last week. My brother and sister watched a movie last night. So these are all showing the actions. So when they're saying the answers, that when did it happen? The last month, yesterday, last week, last night, all this. Then we also use the simple past tense to indicate that an action happened repeatedly in the past. Means here, when we were young, we played together every day. Then I read a lot of books when I was at college. So this was the repeated action. Then we also use the simple past tense to show that something was true for some time in the past. Means like they lived in Mumbai for over 20 years. He taught English in the university in the beginning. Means it was true. It was true before sometime in the past, but now it's not happening. Then the verbs which use d, ed or ied endings to form the past tense are called regular verbs. So refuse becomes refused, help, helped, carry, carried. And for the irregular verbs, they are the verbs which change their form to indicate the past tense. Like go becomes went, catch, caught, break, broke. Then look here for the sentences. They do not follow any rules, like my mother bought her grocery from the store. The verb is buy here. The farmer kept the chicken in the coop. The verb is keep. I went with her to the fair. The verb is go. So notice that these verbs change completely when they change into the past tense. Now, some verbs do not change into their past tense form by adding d or ed. They take a special form when they are used in the past tense. They do not follow a set rule to form the past tense. It means that they do not follow any of the above rules. So like for example, sing becomes sang, give, gave, think, thought, and so on. Now students, it is not possible to read all these words in this video. So please pause the video, then take screenshots and write it in your copy later on. And don't forget to learn them. And don't worry, I will provide these images in the worksheet. You can memorize from there also. So here I end my class. Bye bye. See you again in the next class.